Hello, good evening. Just a few minutes before 7:30, so I just wanted to come and say hello and welcome. Thank you for showing up. I hope you've found a cool place to rest. Coolish. Maybe not cool. I was thinking about a question to post, and sometimes we start kind of with a question that folks can chime in on if they choose, but it feels a bit too personal to put into a YouTube chat, so I think I'm going to just hold off. But yeah. That being said, if anybody wants to, just remembering the context of where the conversation is available to the public, if you want to say anything without it being too personal, if you wanted to, you could say anything that's causing suffering today. This is what we're talking about. For me, racism and white supremacy is really forefront of what's causing a lot of suffering for this heart and mind today. So I had the air conditioning on in here earlier, but not early enough. So if you see me start to get shinier as we go along, that's why. Wishing us all cool minds and hearts as we step into our practice this evening. So welcome to this True North Insight channel. True North Insight teaches Vipassana insight meditation retreats, and yeah, I hear you, Patty. The heat, the weather is causing suffering. It's hard today. Hi, Sandra and Elaine. Hi, and Terry, Kathy. Welcome. So I'm Jill Davey. I'm one of the Dharma teachers with True North Insight. Hi, Sherry. Thanks for joining us. And I think just before I start into the talk, I want to begin just with a little pause, and then we'll have more of a sit after the talk. I know a lot of the True North Insight teachers are a lot of, not just True North Insight teachers, a lot of teachers have the sit first and then do their talk. For me, it just makes a sense for me to have the talk so that it kind of feeds the awareness in the sitting, but that's just how I do things at this time, and that may change. But it is helpful to just start with a pause and a settling in before I talk. So you're welcome to join me in that. Is just not trying to meditate. It's often helpful to not try to meditate. And so just let yourself rest and just feel how things are for you right now. Taking any sighing breaths you might need. Just seeing if there's anything else you need to be comfortable for this time. If you're staying for the hour, you might need some cold water or anything else to be physically comfortable. And I also find it really helpful to just check in with our intention before we start. So I have an intention that I bring to these sessions and to all the times that I teach or share the Dharma. Um, See if there's an intention for you in how you're showing up and what you're hoping to receive from this time, or how you want to be present for yourself in this time. Is there any intention here for you? Maybe an intention to connect with community of like-hearted, like-minded folk. So just see what's here for you. And as you take a few breaths with that intention, if it feels like it is helpful to you to let that land into your body in any way, you might place a hand at your heart or your belly, or wherever is helpful to you, and just let that intention settle in. All right. Okay, so I'm just going to give the talk now, and then we'll have a longer practice at the end. That was just an arriving settle for anybody that's coming in late. Not late, you're not late. Coming in before I started talking is all I mean. Welcome, Viviana. Lovely to see you here. This was interesting in doing some research and writing this talk. It's so funny. You know, I know this topic relatively well, but I still spend all day, and well, actually several days, pondering, and then through the day, like researching. And so thankfully, I do that because I found that I almost shared a fake Buddha quote in my talk. So fake Buddha quotes there's a great website called Fake Buddha Quotes, I believe, where you can, you see these things shared, something that definitely doesn't sound like the language from the Buddha's time, and that's a clue. And I love that website. I think that person might have written a book or is writing a book or something. Maybe I'll find the link and post it down below. So yes, I almost shared a fake Buddha quote in this talk. And the fake Buddha quote, meaning like something that is attributed to the Buddha, but is not actually in the suttas or in the teachings as they're written down, which is the only source we have. So I was probably, I'm going to say something like that the Buddha said, I teach one thing and one thing only, dukkha, dukkha and the ending of dukkha, or suffering and the ending of suffering. And I found that is actually a fake Buddha quote. In a minor way, but minor is important when it comes to these things of slippery translations. So it's often worded this way: I teach only suffering and the cessation or ending of suffering. Another version is, I teach only two things, suffering and the ending of suffering. Or I teach one thing and one thing only. And Bhikkhu Bodhi, who's a great scholar and teacher and practitioner, great translator of Pali, and he says that this is actually inaccurate. So actually, the correct translation is, in the past, monks, or all of us on the path, whether or not you identify as being Buddhist or not, you're on a path of trying to awaken and release the heart and have less suffering. So in the past, practitioners, all of us, and also now, I teach suffering and the cessation of suffering, or ending of suffering. So the difference there is that the quote is not, I only teach, or I only teach, I teach one thing only, suffering and the ending of suffering, because of course the teachings are much more vast than that. There's another fake Buddha quote that often flies around. something along the lines of, that the Buddha said, life is suffering. This is inaccurate and not something that the Buddha said. He didn't teach that all of life is suffering, but part of this life experience is unsatisfactory, unreliable, uncontrollable, unpredictable, and therefore suffering until we, have awakened to the extent that we don't experience suffering with the painful parts of life. So, the reason I'm talking about this tonight is that last Saturday, when there was a talk on Don't Bite the Hook, which was actually, and at the end of it, I believe I shared the definition of dukkha, which is often translated as suffering. I'll say more about that in a moment. And so I thought, I think I need to backtrack a little bit and then teach a bit more about what this means, suffering. So this is the context. It's connecting with that last talk, which was actually about what's called the 5 aggregates we were talking about, and what are the pieces that make up this sense of me, who I take myself to be. And that's what that last talk is about. Okay, so I'm just going to read this definition again that I ended that last talk with. I think I did. I'll have to read it again to see. Pretty sure I did. Okay, it goes like this. Now, I'm going to use this word dukkha, which is a Pali word, as I often do here, using Pali words. I've just typed it in there to the chat. It's dukkha for anyone that can't see the chat. And that is it's more accurate, as with several words, to use that word rather than suffering. Okay, so, and I'll explain more about it in a moment. So here's the definition from that last talk. Birth is dukkha. Aging is dukkha. Death is dukkha. Sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair are dukkha. Association with the unbeloved is dukkha. Separation from the loved is dukkha. Not getting what is wanted is dukkha. In short, the 5 aggregates affected by clinging are dukkha. Okay, so that's where we ended that last talk. And that was entitled Don't Bite the Hook. So if you're interested, you could check that one out. Okay, so birth is dukkha, it starts with. And this sometimes can feel confusing because birth, that's beautiful, joyful, wonderful celebration of new life, and is often, a really joyful occasion for people. Also, it is a very painful experience for some people because of so many factors. It's not always a joyful occasion. But regardless of whether or not, it's a wanted and healthy and safe birth, it's still painful, physically painful. Anybody want to disagree with that? You can just pop that into the chat there, but I'm telling you, it's painful. Physically painful. It is also painful for that being birthed. It's not comfortable being squeezed out, taking that first breath. Like, that can't be physically comfortable. it was all safe and warm and quiet in there. It's like, what? Then they come out crying and, you know, oh my goodness. Did they really do that? Like they would like, in the old days, like slap the baby to get them breathing and crying or something? Or is that just something in the movies? I don't know. But yes. So it's physically painful for the mother, for the child. And also, this being is being born into this realm where we have a physical form, the elements here that we talked about in that last talk, that experiences physical pain, and a mind and heart that experience mental and emotional pain. So it's just part of birth that it is going to entail some suffering and also some joy. But tonight we're teaching about this aspect. Okay, so birth is dukkha, aging is dukkha. Yeah, it is. I don't know. Do I have to explain aging is dukkha? Maybe if there's a really young person here that thinks, no, I think everybody can relate. There's a certain point when you're younger and you think you want to get older or something, but anyways, don't go there. Okay, so aging is dukkha, death is dukkha. Sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair are dukkha, suffering. And association with the unbeloved is dukkha. This means association, like being close to, meeting with what is not beloved, meaning experiencing, meeting what is painful, what is not wanted, is suffering. Separation from the loved is dukkha. So this can be the loved ones, the beings in our lives that we love that die or are lost, or like we're separated from, or not just people, but what is loved, what we want. And separation from that, what we want to keep, is painful. And then, in short, the five aggregates affected by clinging are dukkha. Clinging is the key. It's not that this experience of a being is inherently suffering. It's when it's affected by clinging to it, by mistaken view, that it causes suffering. All right. Now, so that's the definition of what it is I'm going to be talking about actually over the next 3 talks, because there's 3 kinds of dukkha. And I'm going to talk about the first one tonight, the dukkha of dukkha. It's called dukkha, or the suffering of suffering. That sounds like a miserable way to spend an evening, doesn't it? The suffering of suffering. Take heart, take heart. The more we practice and talk about this and understand and learn, we can see the freedom from suffering. Okay, so hang in with me, hang in. All right. Here's something that causes me dukkha. Not that causes me, like that's the problem. It's something that triggers dukkha within me, is the mispronunciation of this word. So I'm just going to, because it's a YouTube video and it's going out there, I'm just going to clarify this for anybody that's interested in Pali and pronunciation. It's a little pet peeve of mine. Yeah, you're right. It's a big one. Okay, so it's not dukkha. It's dukkha, like the word put, dukkha. So I'm just saying this for people that teach or that are interested in Pali. Otherwise, just don't worry about it at all. Just putting it out there because there's a variety of folks that may be tuning in. One way I remember this is that you don't want to do dukkha. You don't want to do dukkha. It's not dukkha. Obviously a pet peeve of mine. but I think an important one. I think pronunciation is important when we're trying to retain this original language of Pali. Uh, so it's dukkha, like put, dukkha, dukkha. Okay, there. I feel relieved I got to say that. All right. Here's one of I love this. It's Glenn Wallace shared this, and this is a really excellent for me. Hopefully for you, not a definition, but really a fleshing out of what this word means, dukkha, because it's usually translated as suffering, and that's not so great because suffering is just one little part of it. So Glenn Wallace has this continuum or spectrum of dukkha that is really clarifies what it means and why we're using the word dukkha instead of suffering. So it includes, think of this continuum. It's everything from faint unsettledness, just a meh, faint unsettledness, like something's just not right, not quite right, or I don't know really what's wrong, but something's bugging me. It's really minor. And then irritation. So it's more like a mosquito bugging at you all the time. It's like, meh. Then impatience, that short fuse. Annoyance, you can see it's sliding over. Frustration, disappointment, dissatisfaction, aggravation, tension, physical, mental, emotional tension. And then right around the middle of this continuum is stress, anxiety. We can all relate to that. Stress, anxiety, okay? And then that continues. He's used the word vexation, pain, desperation, sorrow, sadness, suffering. There, it's gone up to suffering, misery, anguish, agony, and anguish. And we could go on. Like that's just, but I love that it goes from faint unsettledness, something's a little buggy, all the way to anguish, agony. Stress, anxiety is around there in the middle. So this is just part of the picture of what dukkha means. So it's something we all experience. All right. What's missing from that continuum is that it also includes, remember, separation from the loved is also dukkha. So it also includes the beautiful, the beloved things, the beloved relationships, the dear ones, all the pleasant temperature, the pleasant food that you want, whatever, all the things that we wish to keep that we can't control and keep. So even pleasant things are included in there because they're impermanent. We can't keep anything. We'll keep trying, but it's not possible. It's all impermanent. And so the clinging to something beautiful and pleasant causes suffering as well. All right. So this word dukkha is a compound word. This is just a little Pali segue here for folks that are interested in this. So du is the prefix, and ka is the root word. And du means bad. like not well made, like it means bad. And ka means empty. So what these together, what this is actually talking about is like on a cart, which would have been the vehicle of the time of, of the Buddha, um, like an ox-driven cart or hand-pulled cart. And if the axle hole of the wheel is badly made, off-center, or bumpy, then when the axle fits into that hole, the empty, it makes a very bumpy ride. So that's actually the root of this word is dukkha is a bumpy ride. It's like, yeah, all right, enough of that. So tonight I'm talking about, there's actually three kinds of dukkha. Tonight I'm just going to talk about, as I said, the dukkha of dukkha. What this means is, there was another talk on here about Vedana, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, the feeling tone. I forget what I called it. I don't know. It's on there somewhere if you're interested. And so this experience is mostly about the unpleasant feeling tone, the unpleasant experiences of this human existence, of this life existence, not just for humans, it's for all life. All animals experience dukkha. So it's the mental, emotional, and physical unpleasant experiences that are inevitable, that are actually nature, is part of this system, that we experience physical pain, and mental and emotional pain, unpleasantness. And this is, part of our biology, probably originally as a survival mechanism. Oh, that's painful, let's not go there. Trying to survive and continue our species growing. But it's really, and so it's important in some ways, in many ways, because it's telling us something. Something is asking to be paid attention to. And actually paying attention to the dukkha is the way to find freedom with it. I was going to say from it, but it's more freedom with it. Okay, so this is the first noble truth that the Buddha awoke to, is that part of this life experience is there is dukkha. The second noble truth is that the cause of dukkha is not what you may think. It's not because of them. It's not because of, all the things I can't get and all the things I want to keep. And it's not because I'm aging and dying. And it's not because of all the things we point our finger at as being the problem, all the things we try to control in order to be happy. We think if I get all these ducks in a row, then I'll be happy. First of all, good luck getting all the ducks in a row. You don't have that much control. And secondly, you'll likely find that that is not the source of happiness. You can let me know if you get there and it is. So, I'm being sassy tonight. All right. So the second noble truth is that there's a cause. There's actually a different cause than we may think for the dukkha of dukkha. The cause is what's called tanha, or craving. Tanha, craving. That when we're experiencing suffering, physically, mentally, emotionally, there is always something that we are holding on to. When we experience suffering of any kind, there's always something there that we're holding on to. Holding on to is the same as pushing away. You know, there's always something we don't want or something we do want. Something we're trying to get rid of, something we're trying to keep. That's the craving part, which causes clinging. That, and so the third noble truth is that if there's a cause for something to arise, you know, a condition for something to arise, then there can also be the ending of it. If we take away the cause, the origin of suffering, which is craving, then we can experience the ending of suffering. We do this by changing our relationship to what is unpleasant. It is unpleasant. It's very painful. Physical pain, terrible physical pain that some people experience. Shinzen Young said it this way, and it's profound. Suffering equals pain times resistance. Suffering, or dukkha, equals pain times resistance. We're still going to experience pain. The Buddha continued to experience pain, physical pain. He had a lot of pain, actually, in his body when he was getting closer to dying. And he had other times of illness and all kinds of stuff. And so there's still going to be painful experiences, loss of what is loved, getting what we don't, the unbeloved. But it's times resistance. So the amount of suffering, dukkha, we experience is related to the degree that we resist the pain. This is taught in a sutta called sometimes called the second arrow or the second dart, depending on which translation you're looking at. And it says that when touched with a feeling of pain, someone who doesn't have this understanding experiences sorrow, grieves. Oh, sorry, the sound is still on my phone there, off. When touched by a feeling of pain, someone who isn't fully awakened experiences sorrow, grief, laments, beats their breast, becomes distraught. This is what it says in the teachings. So they feel two pains, physical and mental, just as if they were to shoot someone with an arrow and right after were to shoot them again with another one, so that they would feel the pain of two arrows. It goes on to say that when we are touched by, it says, as he is touched by that painful feeling, he is resistant. See? Suffering equals pain times resistance. It's the resistance that is causing the dukkha of dukkha. We're going to experience dukkha, but it's optional whether or not we experience the dukkha of dukkha, the second arrow, the yeah. So then it goes on to describe someone who is well instructed disciple that when touched with a feeling of pain, does not sorrow, grieve, or lament, does not beat one's breast or become distraught. So then this one feels one pain, physical but not mental, just as if they were to shoot someone with an arrow and right after did not shoot them with a second arrow. And as they are touched by that painful feeling, they are not resistant. What this means is turning towards, not resisting. This is not to say, like, oh, I shouldn't feel sad, I shouldn't feel angry, I shouldn't feel anything, like, none of that. It means don't resist it. It means, oh, sweetheart. It means tender turning towards compassion. It means mindfulness, awareness, tender awareness. It means wise effort. There's another whole series that I did earlier here on each of the wise efforts. So wise effort is needed to see, oh, what is needed here? Because sometimes when the pain is very strong, very big, very overwhelming, it is wise to just touch lightly, so kindly, so gently, like, ooh, this is really hard. This is really hard. And maybe that's all we can do at that time. And so then we need to redirect our attention. It is wise to say, maybe do some metta practice, loving kindness practice, some compassion practice, to, distract ourselves, go outside, do something kind, talk to a friend. Absolutely, Helena, 100%. My heart is destroyed over and over again by the violence and acts of racism in my country. Yeah, not just your country, in our world. Yeah, all of our countries. It's just freaking devastating. And so that feeling of pain needs to be attended, needs to be turned towards, is asking for action, especially from us white folks, to speak the hell up and to demand safety and change. That we need to turn towards and not be resistant to what's showing up. And then apply the right effort. What's needed? What's needed? This takes a lot of discernment and kindness and awareness. What's needed here? What's needed here? Over and over and over. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Okay. I think that was enough. So the practice is to turn towards, to open to. On the 3-month retreat, Rebecca Bradshaw was teaching about dukkha, and I don't know if she described it like waves, but it landed in my memory as waves of how suffering arises. Like sometimes it's a big crest, as Helena and I are just talking about, and many of us are feeling right now, of a really big, what's the word? Upsurge in suffering. And when we turn to this with our practice of awareness and compassion, gentle care, sometimes the insights arise, or a little bit of release, or right action, wise action arises. And then we might, we often find in our practice that then that may shift, and we have some time of, because we've paid attention in this way, we have a time of some ease and calm, perhaps even joy. I can't really touch joy right now, but I know it's going to come again. I know it is available. Maybe I'll give a talk on joy after I get through these. So the dukkha rises, and we get overwhelmed by that wave, and then when we attend to it skillfully, it can ebb, pass, and we have some calm in our practice, some peace, some joy. And this then touches into deeper layers of suffering. I know this is not very heartening for people that are thinking of like starting a practice, like more suffering. What? I'm out of here. But then when you attend to that skillfully, there's deeper levels of joy, deeper levels of peace and awareness and compassion. So this can be how the practice unfolds. That it's not that we like check everything off our list and we're free, but we actually hit deeper grooves, but also the pleasant experiences also become deeper. The peace and calm and the ability to meet with how things are deepens. The liberation, the freedom from suffering deepens when we skillfully meet with how things are. All right. How's that? So we're going to have a little practice so that I can stop talking at you. I don't know. I think they get longer every time. I keep trying to get shorter. It just doesn't happen. Okay. Little drink here. Water. It's warm in here. I'm going to start with a little poem here from Rumi. Rumi. This is called Bird Wings. Oh, it's a good one. And it speaks to these kind of opening and closing that we do, these waves. Your grief for what you've lost lifts a mirror up to where you are bravely working. Expecting the worst, you look, and instead, here's the joyful face you've been wanting to see. Your hand opens and closes, and opens and closes. If it were always a fist, or always stretched open, you would be paralyzed. Your deepest presence is in every small contracting and expanding. The two as beautifully balanced and coordinated as bird wings. Please take any sighing breaths you need and let all of these words just fall away. Anything that lands for you will land. You don't need to hold on to any of it. Let your eyes rest. And restful for you might be with eyes open or with eyes closed, whatever feels like it brings some ease to you right now. And let's invite some calming and cooling of the heart and mind and body. And we invite this with our clear, kind, gentle attention. And freedom from suffering is described as putting out the flames, bringing a cool and calm intention to your heart and mind and body. And feel that whatever is here for you right now, whether it's physical, dukkha, mental, emotional, all of the above, that this is asking for attending, not resisting. Oh, it's like this right now. It's like this right now. And in that opening to it's like this right now, can there be a little bit of curiosity? How is it actually? If we take away the resistance, how is it actually? What is this I call, if there's a physical pain, is it sharp? Is it vibrating? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it solid? What is that physical sensation really like without the added story, any added aversion? And similarly, if there is mental or emotional pain here for you in this moment, how is this really? What is this? Does it feel like a heaviness, a heartache, a numbness? Does it feel like heat, like anger? Grief? And it may feel too intense to spend much time with. You could just skillfully just touch that, just with your awareness, just a touch. And if it feels like too much, you can open your eyes, look out a window, look around your space, feel the ground beneath you. You might need a comforting touch on your heart or body. And then we can add some phrases of self-compassion. May I not add resistance to this pain. May I open to what is unpleasant. May I bring tender awareness to what needs attention. And we can also open to the dukkha that all beings experience. We know that as we experience these things, all beings do. Even those that we think are causing suffering, they are also suffering. And we can untether our heart with the wish, may you be free from suffering. May you have a kind attention and tender awareness of your suffering. May you develop the capacity to not resist what is painful. May all beings be safe. May all beings be well. May all beings be free from the second arrow, the dukkha of dukkha. May I and all beings be free. So there's time here to share any questions about this practice and this teaching of the first dukkha, the suffering of suffering. If anybody has questions or comments while I wipe the sweat off my face. Nice. Beautiful. Well, you may be reflecting on that or typing out a comment or question. I'll just add that that resistance part of when one is touched by a painful feeling, being resistant to it. The teaching goes on to say, touched by that painful feeling, one delights in sensual pleasure. There's the resistance. Touched by a painful feeling, one delights in sensual pleasure. So we experience some pain and physical, mental, emotional, and immediately we want to get rid of it and seek something else that we think will make us feel pleasant, happy. That other thing or this other situation or other person or other everything. And it's that, and it's because we are not clearly seeing, discerning, as it actually is. What's called is written as the origination, passing away, allure, drawback, or escape from that feeling. Okay, so the origination meaning seeing how it arises. It's a conditioned arising, seeing clearly. Oh, this is because that it was, that is, this is, that is. Seeing its arising, its origination, it's passing away. That whatever is arising is passing away. And also not clearly seeing the allure of it or the drawback of this clinging and aversion, and not clearly seeing the escape from that feeling, the freedom, the not resisting, the opening to and seeing its arising and passing. So that's just some more parts from that sutta. For people that are interested in the sutta, that's from the Samyutta Nikaya. I'll just write it down for people that are interested. For some people like to look up suttas, well, or maybe I do, but in case you also like it, there it is. Oh, and also the definition of dukkha that I said: birth, aging, sickness, death, lamentation, pain, sorrow, despair, is in Samyutta Nikaya 56:11. And I'm just going to remind you, if you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, do not worry about it. This is not something you need to know. I'm only citing these suttas for some folks that are studying in this way. You do not need to know the Pali words or the suttas at all to find freedom from suffering. Okay, so if any of that storyline is going on for you, pop that bubble, drop it. You don't need to know this. Okay? All right. Any questions or comments, challenges? I've been using a meditation you taught for turning toward dukkha, aware, care, release, peace. Oh, did I teach that? Cool. That's great. Aware. I love that one. I forgot about that. Thank you, Terry. I'm aware of this pain. I care about this pain. May this pain release. May I know peace. I totally forgot that. That's so good. I'm sure it wasn't mine. I'm sure I shared it from somebody else, but that's really good. Regarding dukkha, suffering, I am aware of this. So there's that not resisting, that turning towards, I'm aware of this. It's like this in this being. I care about this. Yeah, actually, it was somebody that on the 3-month retreat taught that. I care about this pain. Yeah, and what does it mean really to care about it? I should go over that one again. That's a good one, Terry. Thank you. And may this pain release. Yeah, that was on the 3-month. I'm remembering it now. Thank you. I'm going to look that up. Any other questions or comments on suffering of suffering and how the suffering can end. The second arrow is optional. That's our relationship to how things are. Yeah, I especially love, I didn't give credit there to this suffering equals pain times resistance. That was Shinzen Young that said that. I should have put Shinzen Young credit for that. I like that a lot. So just while we're just seeing if there's any last comments here, there's a little arrow down below where you can get more info. It's like a little drop down menu, and there's a link there to support True North Insight, and also to support me. This is my work now, and any support. The second arrow is a real zinger. Yeah, sometimes it has a poison tip. Yeah, certainly let me know if it needs any more clarification or if you need support with the practice. Anybody, you can get in touch with me. And also, there's a link down below. There's a great fundraiser coming up for True North Insight, which is an online retreat with Joseph Goldstein, Pascal Auclair, and Roxanne. How do I say your last name, Roxanne? It's Dault. Roxanne Dolt? Oh, I'm totally English messing up that French name. Sorry. Anyways, 3 amazing teachers, and like Joseph, how do you explain who Joseph is? He and Sharon Salzberg and Jack Cornfield are some of the main teachers that brought the Dharma to the West, and have taught all the teachers of the teachers here. So it's an online retreat, and I put the link below, and it's a fundraiser to help support True North Insight to survive this pandemic, because all of our retreats are canceled. So that's very difficult for us to continue. So please check that out. I think that's it. Hey, Viviana, welcome, love. Okay, so I'm back here Saturday. Saturday, 9 o'clock, 9 to 10. And we'll be talking about that's a very inviting, I shouldn't say. Talking about the second dukkha. It's like, oh, more dukkha. Which is actually the suffering of change, impermanence. So hope to see some of you then. Thank you for showing up, and I wish you coolness of body and mind and heart. May we all be free from dukkha. Love you. Good night.